These are the worked out solutions for day 68's warm-up, and so let's take a look at these problems. Again, these are going to be similar to what you're going to see on the quiz on Friday. And so it talks about 8 oranges cost $1. How much will 5 dozen oranges cost? And so what we're going to do is we're going to set up a proportion of oranges to cost. And so I'm going to start off with 8 oranges. I'll abbreviate oranges there, and to $1. And I'm going to set up the other ratio exactly the same way. So the other one's a little different though. It says, how much will 5 dozen oranges cost? So a dozen is 12. So I have to multiply 5 times 12, and that'll give me the number of oranges there, over a cost. And this cost is an unknown amount, so I'll call it x. And so let's go ahead and rewrite our proportion here as 8 is to 1, and then 5 times 12 gives me 60 is to x. And so as long as you're consistent, we've got oranges on top, dollars on the bottom, and as long as this ratio is the same way, oranges on top, dollars on the bottom, we'll come up with the right answer. So I'm going to use cross multiplying to solve this. So I'm multiplying the 8 and the x. These are called cross products. So 8 times x equals 1 times 60. And I go ahead and multiply the 1 and 60, and that leaves me with a 60. So 8x equals 60, and I now need to divide by 8. And so off to the side, I'll go ahead and do that division, and I see it goes in 7 times with 4 left over. And so I add the decimal point, bring it straight up in the quotient, and 8 into 40 goes 5 times evenly. So my answer is x equals $7.50 for those 5 dozen oranges. Here it talks about a recipe calls for 2 eggs to make 10 pancakes. How many eggs will be needed to make 35 pancakes? So we're setting up a proportion. We're trying to come up with equal fractions. And so let's set it up this way. 2 eggs for every 10 pancakes equals, and then they're asking how many eggs. We don't know. X eggs over 35 pancakes. And then we can go ahead and set up that proportion and solve. So I'm going to cross multiply here, 2 times 35. And on the other side, I'm going to set it up as 10 times x. And multiply the 2 and the 35 gives me 70 equals 10x. And so from that point, I divide by 10, and it gives me my answer of x. So x, again, is the number of eggs. So 7 eggs are required for those 35 pancakes. Here it talks about a job pays $116.25 for 15 hours of work. How much money does the job pay per hour? So we're going to divide the number of hours into the pay. So let's go ahead and do that. 15 into 116 and 2500ths. Important thing to do is bring that decimal point straight up. And 15 doesn't go into 11, but it does go into 116. We'll try 7 times, and that makes 105. And when we go ahead and do the subtraction, it leaves me with 11. So I bring down the 2, and I see that again. I can do another 105, because it's pretty close to 112. And that leaves me with just 7. And 15 does go into 75 evenly 5 times. So the answer is not just 7 and 7500ths, but $7.75 per hour. And that's what we're looking for there. So the next one, it says it took Jim 324 minutes to bake a 16-pound turkey. How many minutes per pound? So it's the same type of problem as the last one. Did it take him to cook the turkey? So we'll go ahead and set that up as 16 into 324. So 16 goes into 32 2 times, evenly actually, so that leaves us with 0. So 16 does not go into 4, so we'll have to add a decimal point. And when I go ahead and do that subtraction, I get 4 left over. 16 into 40 goes another 2 times, with 8 left over. Add a 0, bring it down. 16 into 80 goes 5 times evenly. Make sure you bring that decimal point straight up and write down the units. 20 and 2500ths minutes per pound. Use LB for the units for pound, so minutes per pound. Here it talks about a diner has 8 seats at a counter. So that's important. At the counter, it was 8 seats. 32 seats at the tables. Write a ratio of seats to counter, at the counter to seats at the tables. So seats at counter to, that's the important thing, seats at tables. So when we set up the ratio, we got to have counter on top. And so 8 at the counter, 32 at the table. And then we reduce the fraction. So I'll take out the common factor of 8, divide them both top and bottom by 8. I'm left with 1 over 4. That is the answer that I'm looking for. Next problem is there are 21 red marbles, 15 blue marbles. Write a ratio of red to blue. Red is 21, so that goes on top. Blue is 15. It goes on the bottom because it said red to blue. And then just take out the common factor, and then we'll have our answer. And so here we take out the common factor of 3, and we get it. So 7 over 5 is the number I'm looking for. So don't change those to those improper fractions to mixed numbers. Just leave them the way they're at. Well, those are the warm-up problems for today.